Sustainability and Climate Reporting in 2025 webinar. Here's how to future-proof your business. Today, we would like to start with an acknowledgement of country and to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the various lands on which we meet and pay my respects to their elders, past, present, and emerging. And today I'll be joining you from the Bundjalung country in the northern rivers of New South Wales. So a couple of housekeeping. We're proud to be hosting this event as part of the 2024 New South Wales Small Business Month and in partnership with the New South Wales government. And of course, we have some housekeeping that we will email you the presentation after the event. We encourage you to use the chats for your questions. It would be great if you leave your camera on so we can have a friendly face there. Mute your microphone and please share on LinkedIn using New South Wales Small Biz Month hashtag and tagging SDG Align and the Zero Waste Cluster would be highly appreciated. So why sustainability? Well, sustainability is not just about being eco-friendly. It's about future-proofing your business and staying competitive while meeting the growing customer demands that make you a responsible company. Sustainability is about managing change and innovation. It's about new business models and applying the principles of circular design to your business. And really, whether you run a small coffee shop, a manufacturing unit, a service-based organization, integrating sustainable practices can really drive long-term growth, reduce costs, and boost your employee engagement. So today we're going to do a deeper dive into what's on the horizon and how to future-proof your business. My name is Willem Overbos. I'm a co-founder of SDG Align, and we're a sustainability as a service provider on a mission to help you on your journey to make sustainable practices a business habit. With me today, I have Professor Andrew Rose from Southern Cross University, and he's also the academic director of the ReCirculator project, and Dr. Ernest Dutoit, also from the Southern Cross University, and he's the technical manager of the ReCirculator. Now, we were talking about looking ahead. And as we all know, the future doesn't really exist. So if we look ahead, how do we grasp the future and how do we imagine what the future will look like? I'd like to take you on a little journey there using the 3 horizon model. And that can be used to scan the world around you and really to look further than what's on the immediate short-term horizon, which would be your horizon 1. Let's call that business as usual. So you're running your business, you don't really look what's happening outside of your organization. You might talk to a couple of friendlies, but that's it. And business as usual goes along, and suddenly you're affected with all sorts of changes in the outside world that are affecting your business continuity. So that's a scenario that you could run. However, there's also the longer term, let's call that horizon 2, where you can see medium term trends and different things developing on the horizon. And it's important to start looking that way because that can inform your strategy. And finally, there might be a horizon 3, which is really what's happening in the long term. And if we look at long term, we're looking at what's happening with the United Nations 2030 agenda, where you read a lot about the 2050 net zero policy that the Australian government has committed to. That's a long time away. That's over 15 to 20 years away. So how can you then make something for your organization in parts of a strategy? Well, that's where STEEP could be something that you could really use. And STEEP stands for social, technological, economical, environmental, and political trends. And that helps you to categorize what's happening in the world around you into these categories. So, for example, if we look at social change and we look in the medium and in long term, well, today we can see that gender discrimination is more and more becoming a thing. And it could be something that you could take a standpoint for within your business. If we look at technological changes that are on the horizon, well, AI is everywhere in the news. And in fact, I've learned yesterday that Australia is one of the leading countries picking up AI as technology. In fact, we are the global adapter on AI. So that's definitely something that you could take into your midterm thinking when you're developing your business. And then there's the economical trends. Cost of living crisis is very, very today, but there are other global economical influences that you could take into account that could affect your material cost when you're in the construction build environment. It could affect your resources. So have a look at that. And then finally, we're going to zoom into environmental trends. And of course, most of us here in Northern Rivers have experienced firsthand what it means when extreme weather conditions affect us, both in person as in business. But looking at the extreme weather conditions and looking at climate change more broadly, Andrew, what can you see happening in the world around you when you dive into that environmental trend?
Yeah, thanks, Willem. Thanks for the question. But one of the major trends that I can see emerging at the moment is this concept of the circular economy starting to be really critical to the way that people are thinking about not just sustainability, but also about business. And for me, one of the things that's really interesting about this concept of the sustainability is that of the circular economy is that while there's clearly overlap between the circular economy and sustainability, I feel like sustainability has always been seen to be something different to business in the past. And so the challenge has been, how do you bring these things together? How do you internalize this essentially environmental concept of sustainability within a capitalist economic system? In contrast, I think circular economy, as the name suggests, it's fundamentally about the economy, but it's about, in a more organic way, internalizing or bringing into the way that the economy functions concepts around efficient material use and resilience in supply chains and resilience in material use. And so I think this is actually a fundamental paradigm shift that we're on the cusp of at the moment. And while it's obviously related to those environmental trends, as I say, I think that it's actually fundamentally about business and the economy. So just in case anyone who's joined us today isn't familiar with this concept of the circular economy, you could see on the slide there an overview of what the circular economy is about. But in essence, there are three key principles to the circular economy. The first principle is that we design out waste and pollution. The second is that we keep products and materials in use at their highest value for as long as possible. So in other words, once we have used or taken resources, we dig something up, we cut it down, we turn it into something, we keep that in circulation within our economy for as long as possible and at the highest value possible. And a third really critical factor, which I think is currently still a little overlooked, a third principle there, is that we regenerate natural systems. So it's not just about being efficient with what we use, but it's also about trying to use those resources in a way that not only benefits humans, but also benefits our natural systems as well. So just one other very brief point that I'll make, Willem, before I hand back, but just to touch again on that notion that I think this is a really important paradigm shift for businesses. I think that there's some regulatory changes coming up, which I know you're going to touch on soon, as part of our webinar today, that are really at the moment focused on big business. But the fact that the circular economy is so much about supply chains and that interconnectedness between businesses of all scales means that regulatory changes that might impact big business now are going to be passed on to their clients, their customers, and also passed back up the supply chain to suppliers. So I think the circular economy is, once again, it's a significant paradigm shift, and I think it's going to affect all businesses and ultimately consumers over the next few years.
Well, that's a very good insight, and yes, thank you for calling out that this will affect all business, and it is one of the most important trends on the horizon, if not something that is already happening in Australia and overseas, definitely. Ernest, from your point of view, when you look at industry, because you deal with businesses not only in the Northern Rivers of New South Wales, but across Australia that are already embarked on this circular economy journey. They're applying circular principles to their business and they're innovating. What do you see in industry?
Yes, Willem, I think, yeah, to continue from what Andrew was saying, I think the main thing is awareness. The industry is becoming more aware, and previously it might have been seen as a bit of a business improvement process or a regulatory thing that's coming. People are actually realizing this is more than that. It's actually creating a social license for them to operate. So it expands into their understanding, their customers need it, their suppliers want it. So it's a bit of increased awareness. And I think part of that is also they're coming to us for help. They realize you can't get away with greenwashing anymore. Previously, companies would support or report on these things. So you'll have a little icon about everything in the sustainability index, and people wouldn't question it. Now people are starting to question it. So they come to us and say, how can we actually measure it? What can we report and actually have proof for our claims? So as Andrew mentioned, that comes from customers and that also will come from your suppliers. And offtakes internationally and locally will require that very soon,
So again, going back one slide, looking at the social, technological, economical, and environmental trends, you can see that there are already very tangible things happening that will affect your business in the short term. If you look at the medium term, there are identifiable trends. There are businesses that are leading this direction. And if you look at the longer term, we all know that we cannot continue to be as negligent of using the natural resources. We can't just keep doing what we're doing simply because we're already using 1.5 Earth on materials on a yearly basis. So the traditional capitalistic model will basically run out because we simply don't have enough resources. So it's a dead end road either way, which is on the horizon. So the sooner we're able to shift the thinking, well, the sooner we're able to be to adapt to that change. And finally, if we look at political changes which affect businesses, and of course this is one of the key topics of today, we now know that the Australian government has approved a mandatory climate-related financial reporting guidelines, which will affect primarily large businesses, around 5,000 businesses or 0.2% of the market that have more than 500 million in consolidated revenue, more than $1 billion in assets, and over 500 employees. But starting 26, this already goes down to businesses that have 200 million in revenue, 500 million in consolidated assets, and 250 in staff. So quite quickly, you will be looking at your customers or suppliers that are within this bandwidth. And then finally, in 2027, so we're still in that midterm strategy. Midterm horizon, businesses that have 50 million in revenue, 25 million in assets, and 100 employees or more will have to start reporting. They will have to start disclosing, their positive and negative impacts on the environment. And that's pretty soon, if you think about it. So if sustainability is not yet on your business horizon, then this is a call to action. It is now that you better start planning ahead, because we can say for sure that larger customers, consumers, local governments will be asking you for information about what you're doing to preserve the environment, what you're doing to basically reduce gender inequality, reduce climate change. And they will ask you for proof, as Ernest said. So it's time to start the game. And if we look at sustainability and we're talking about, how aware are you and where are you currently standing? So what is your sustainability maturity level today? Well, there are actually 5 levels if we ignore the unaware. That is, once you become aware, we call you an initiator, right? Your efforts are very sporadic. You might not be aware of it, but you've heard about the term. Then in yellow, you'll become an explorer. You're more committed. You've begun some small initiatives that you start to explore with your team, and then slowly move forward to becoming an implementer, where sustainable practices really become something that are integrated into your business operations. And you might already be reporting on some of them, but before you really go into that direction, you have to start not only reporting on it, but also publicly sharing those reports. Transparency in sustainability is a key thing. So publishing it on your website, getting credentials and international standards like ISO, or becoming a member of UN Global Compact could be something that helps you become that innovator and publicly report on your annual progress. And then finally, at the top of the ladder is, sustainability is really part of everything you do. You're becoming an advocate with your business, and you're really leading the way in this field. It is part of your overall strategy, and it is in your business DNA. That's the shift or the transformation journey that a lot of businesses in Australia and around the world have to make in order to not only comply to regulation, but also to make sure that there is a world to do business in. Because again, if we keep doing what we're doing, it is a dead-end road. The majority of businesses in Australia, 2.6 million, are small and medium businesses, and actually the majority is micro with less than 10 in staff. So most likely you're not alone. There are so many businesses out there that are embarking on this journey and that are keen to learn more, and they're keen to learn what to do next. So we'll take you on a little journey, and we're going to hand you the free assessment that we've promised you in the announcement of the webinar, which is, step 1, getting your priorities right and knowing where you are on that ladder in order to be able to determine your next steps. You can scan the QR code, and we'll be sharing the link later on to take this 10-minute self-assessment to identify which of the sustainability topics matter most to your business. We've got a collection of 26 topics in total. And by taking that 10-minute self-assessment, basically we provide you with those topics that matter to you, that are close to your heart, and that are related to international frameworks such as the Sustainable Development Goals. It will help you prioritize where you are, and it'll also inform you what to do next. It'll help you develop that plan to climb the ladder, so to speak. And as a next step, once you have those identified sustainable development goals, you can learn more to become that explorer. Dive deeper into the meaning of what sustainability is to you, share that with your team, and discover your material topics, the topics that are really relevant to your business. You can sign the commitment to a sustainable future, which is a digital certificate that you can put on your website, and you can start to set clear, smart sustainability goals that are measurable, that are that are real and reality to your business, and that you can I had to get the right wording, that are specific, measurable, achievable for your business, relevant, and of course time bound. Remember this: sustainability is a long-term journey. You will most likely spend the most of the first year just getting these data points, and that's okay. So don't rush. There is time, but as long as you're on the journey, you're making way forward. And then becoming that implementer means that you really start to action circularity. You start to reduce your energy cost, and you start to eliminate waste. You'll be focusing on the health of your staff, and you're taking community actions. and at the end of the day, it is so important to keep track of the impact that you're making, because further down the line, when supply chain partners or larger customers start to question your impact, they will ask for data. So make sure that you keep track, whether you use third-party software for that or you just do it in a spreadsheet. Keep track of your efforts, keep track of your data, and make sure that you stick to your plan. Now, when you're at that, let's say, innovator level, and you're on the journey, of course, some things become more important. And this is where we'll do a bit more deep dive into what's already out there, because you're not alone. When you're becoming an innovator, it's all about collaboration. Sustainability in general is about collaboration and making sure that you bring in the right knowledge to move forward. So if we look at that, and we're looking at rethinking product design, we're looking at circular models to repair, to reuse, to recycle, Andrew, what does the ReCirculator actually do? Because I'm curious.
Yeah, so the ReCirculator is a program that we established at Southern Cross University about 3 years ago now. So ReCirculator is Regional Circular Economy Accelerator. So specifically being based in the New South Wales Northern Rivers, that's our focus region. But we feel like, given what we've done over the last few years, that it's quite a good model that could be applied elsewhere as well. At its heart, the ReCirculator is about knowledge brokerage and knowledge transfer. So being at a university and myself being an academic, when I first started thinking about this problem and being keen to get in and try to make a difference, my mind immediately went to what research can I do? What new ideas can I come up with? What technology can I develop, and so on. But as we started to engage with businesses and other organisations in the region, we came to the realisation that there were already a lot of potential solutions that existed, and there were various reasons why those solutions were not being taken up. So in other words, there are barriers that need to be overcome. So the ReCirculator is less focused on coming up with new ideas and rather focused on helping to reduce or overcome barriers that might be inhibiting existing ideas and existing solutions from being implemented. And so the way that we approach this is that we have tried to build a network, so a group of like-minded organisations, and that includes everything from small businesses to some of the really large industries here in the Northern Rivers, government, and of course ourselves at the university, to encourage that flow of information. It's also one of the main roles that we've taken on is to try to facilitate partnerships. So it's not necessarily the case that we need to be involved in helping to implement these solutions. Sometimes it's as much as us being able to say, have you met this person, or are you aware of this business, or are you aware of this product? So just making those connections is so important. I think a lot of it is about trying to build that ecosystem, if you want to look at it that way. And where we come in from sometimes, come in as well sometimes is after these parties might talk, someone might already have an interest in implementing a particular solution or approach. But if we can identify what these barriers are, then sometimes there's a role for us as a university to help try to eliminate some of those barriers. So as an example, maybe a business wants to adopt a new technology, but they're not entirely sure whether or not it will work for their particular product or their particular business environment. And so that's where we can help to maybe pilot that to establish, will it work? If so, what are the optimal conditions? If there are regulatory barriers, we can often help provide data that will provide that evidence that you're talking about, Willem, to say, yes, this will comply with regulations. This is a valid solution. So I guess, in summary, I think it's about the university playing a role as a facilitator and really trying to leverage all of the existing goodwill and enthusiasm and solutions that there are out there around this circular economy concept already.
Now, you mentioned the fact that you're working with regional partners. Of course, the northern rivers and where we're situated has been hit by the floods in 2022. And that affects businesses in the built environment. It affects businesses in agriculture. It affects businesses in food production. Is there, in general, some trends that you can see there, or initiatives in these industries that really jump out to you? And I know that you're working on something very interesting with AI that I think I would be keen to hear more about it, Andrew.
Well, I'm very happy to specifically to mention that one, but I guess in a general sense, we know that there are certain industries and sectors of the economy that are going to be more strongly impacted by climate change. So agriculture is a key one. Farmers in general are really keen to adopt new practices that will help them become sustainable. And it's for a variety of reasons. I think there's increasing expectations from consumers now that food products will be produced in sustainable and ethical ways, but also, it's the livelihood of a lot of people who feel a really strong connection with the land. And so I think we've worked quite a bit with around organic wastes, for example, and trying to work with some of the food manufacturing industries here in the Northern Rivers. I think other big opportunities that maybe we haven't made much progress yet, but where we really need to, is in construction. And there's a specific opportunity here in the Northern Rivers associated with a lot of the post-flood recovery work. So there are going to be some existing houses that are demolished, some that are relocated. There'll be new houses and new infrastructure that are developed. And so it's a real opportunity, I think, to embed circularity principles in that from the start. And yes, maybe to very quickly mention the project that you alluded to, Willem. So we are working on a new project that I'm very excited with, partnering with a few different businesses here in the Northern Rivers region about trying to use artificial intelligence and other emerging technologies like that to develop this idea of a smart circular economy. So essentially where we can use digital tools to be able to track the flow of materials through our economy and measure their impact almost in real time. And I think that'll allow us to take more of a systems level approach where we can say, oh, look, this is where we're least efficient in terms of our material flow in the economy. That's where we really should be focusing our attention if we want to make big changes here. So I'm really, really excited about that. And I know that we're not the only ones that are working on that, but I just get very, very excited about the opportunities that some of these projects and ideas present for the future.
I can see that Tanya is bringing in some interesting insights about collaboration in different regions. That specifically you're referring to Albury. Would you like to share the story, Tanya, while we're at it? So please.
Yeah, thank you. It was just so exciting to be at the Environmental Educators Conference in Albury, which covers all sectors of education. And there was the enthusiasm to find collaborations and to connect with the regen and farming areas. And we had somebody, the general manager of the Mulloon Institute was there. And this concept of circularity and teaching that in schools and other areas so that people get to see the connection. And I love what has been put here in the slide, the facilitating a network between universities, industry, regulators and government. Because I remember in 2019 going to a session in Sydney, and it was with appreciative inquiry, which is a concept like town hall or like, we use sociocracy here in the Eco-Village. And the idea being that all voices get heard and that everybody has a different perspective. And that, of course, is really strengths-based because we all have a different ability to bring things. And I think that that's a really positive thing. And again, I've heard that the possibilities using AI also very exciting in separate conversations. So yeah, it's exciting to keep coming back to a basic framework, the SDGs with the 17 factors, and then exploring that in greater detail. And I'm a learning addict, so I think it's exciting, and of course what I find is that as we connect with other people, then the spiral goes upward and upward and upward, and we get flourishing nature, and that's the most important thing right now, is regenerating ourselves and nature. And so it's just wonderful.
Thank you for sharing, and it is basically a big call out to keep learning. So I'm glad we've got Southern Cross here to facilitate that part. Diving a bit deeper into the ReCirculator and the projects that are currently running or have been on the boards. Ernest, maybe you can shine a light on the projects that you're currently doing.
Yes, Andrew did give away a bit of this already, but yes, basically, because it was a new program, we tried to select our projects to not only develop capability and capacity, but also addressing what is happening in the region. So we do try to have the projects to focus a bit around the relevant industries such as agriculture, construction, and things like that. So if you look at the sort of project we picked, our first project looked at thermal treatment of waste. And specifically, we looked at using pyrolysis as a way of treating plastic into a fuel or plastic into a naphtha feedstock for remanufacturing of virgin plastics. You can see on that photo that is a modular unit from our partner Plastics Pirate, which is basically sent to the source of the plastic waste, be it on a farm or be it on a ship, and that's why we are the pirates. And you can basically process it in small scale, get it consumed, and basically make a product which a farmer or whoever can use from their waste. Our second project looked at the recycling to construction. I'm going to discuss that separately in a new slide. And then our third one is around capturing nutrients from industrial wastewater. Specifically, we looked at wastewater from a dairy industry, which is quite big within the Northern Rivers area. Our fourth project was around carbon accounting and life cycle assessment. That is one of those capability building projects where we actually need that for all the different projects, and we also supply that service to industry to assess their current status around carbon efficiency and life cycles. The fifth project is where one fits in that Andrew mentioned around AI. That's about waste identification and sorting, which is an enabler for all the other circular projects. And then finally, our project number 6 was around recycled plastic into construction of 3D printed houses. And that one also addressed on a separate slide, Willem. So if you look at project 2, which was our recycling to concrete, we're doing that project with our industry partner, CRDC Global. And the technology they offer is basically technology where you transform hard to recycle plastics into aggregate replacement. You're doing that by adding the waste plastic with some minerals, putting it through a heat treatment, in this case, extruder, as you can see the bottom picture, and by coming up with what we call a resin 8 extrudate, which you granulate and put back into your concrete. We did install a small pilot of this on campus to be able to show people, because a lot of the ReCirculator is about demonstrating, showing industries. Industry is sometimes reluctant to take stuff up if they can't do it with their own waste, if they can't see the final product as it came from their product. So we actually have this facility on site where you can take plastic from the industry and showing, but they can convert that into a usable resin product. We are also demonstrating this on campus by putting a slab on our circulator site, which will be about 550 square meters, and that will use waste which we collected on site through an initiative. The same partner opened a facility in Melbourne recently, which they supply the projects around that area with resin 8.
Is it available for the general public, Ernest, this solution? Like if I wanted to put a slab in my house, or a slab in a cafe, or in my shed, would it be available here?
Currently, it's available. It's easily available in the Melbourne area with some partners around there, but I know CRDC actually did some slabs in the Brisbane area with partners as well, demonstrating the application thereof. So it's a bit restricted to where the facilities are, because we're not transporting this all over the country, but the intent is to have these satellite industry hubs where you can basically put it into application in various areas. And that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to educate councils, trying to educate off-takers, show this has the same strength and other advantages compared to traditional concrete.
Yeah, and that's where that knowledge broker role comes into play, right? It's not only demonstrating a project, it is finding out the barriers and then sharing that experience with all stakeholders.
Exactly. We have the capability to test stuff on site, so we do the testing and showing the results. Yeah.
Yeah, and then your 3D plastic project.
Yeah, that is a very interesting one. We're doing this project with our partner StereoKite, which is a local company within the Northern Rivers. StereoKite has been doing stage props and movie props for years, and with that they actually developed a very big 3D printer, but Printezilla, what you call it. They basically have two of those printers. They're 2 stories high, and they realized, well, maybe we can use this for something different. And that something different was printing houses with it. We got involved in a project and we constructed a small 3D printed shed. You can see on the little pictures on the top side, is me standing there while I was printing. And the final structure, which we took to different sites, that was at the expo recently. And yeah, people can actually see and touch it. And the nice thing about this structure is based on the commercial design of the commercial units we want to build. So this enabled us to test testing of structural properties of these structures. Interesting that little structure constituted 9,000 2-liter plastic bottles, which was diverted from landfill. The final feature at the bottom there is a rendering of the commercial units which we will offer to the public. These will be available as a studio or 1-bedroom or 2-bedroom unit. And as we sit here today, we're actually starting to take orders from the public already on building these little units.
And now I'm always being Dutch about it. What's the price range, Ernest, of a unit like this if I want to put it on my property as a little a tiny house or a granny flat?
That is a question for our partners, but what we expect it will probably be in 100 to 200,000 range, depending on the size of the unit, location, and yeah. I think the biggest advantage of this unit is the relative short time it can be built in. You can print this quite easily in a couple of days and have it available. And
probably if you look at all the basics, regulations, it is to spec of the building and construction code, the National Construction Code.
Yes, that's where we came in with other industries and all this as well. Yes.
Sorry, I think you were breaking up a little bit, or is it on my end? Could you repeat the last answer?
We're part of the testing, and we also had other external parties applying some tests. And all of that's going through the regulatory approval processes for construction.
Yeah. Well, this is very, this is innovation. This is circularity at its core. It is showcasing what is possible with technology that's already available. And it is changing the way people think about housing, about resilient building, about sustainable building. And you could even imagine that the 3D printed plastic house sits on a slab of recirculated concrete, right? So it's putting these 1 and 1 together makes 3. And I really appreciate you sharing these insights with us today. And this is what it looks like if you're really embedding sustainable practices in your organization and communicating about the impact, about the regulations, about what you use. So again, trying to overstate this, but transparency is key. Measuring how much bottles of plastic are going in is not only a fun fact, but it also helps you to get an idea about, what are we actually looking at. So again, keep track of what you're doing, measure change. If you're becoming an innovator, make sure to use grants, make sure to use research partners and universities across the country, because they will have researchers, they'll have access to knowledge, and they might even have access to testing facilities to help you innovate and become that leader in sustainability, to become that business leader, that person that really advocates change and innovation in sustainability. So sustainability, as we said at the beginning, is not really just about climate change. It's not only about solar panels. It really is about adapting change. It's about applying regenerative practices to business and making sure that we keep nature available in order for the human race to flourish, because that's at the end of the day what we have to do. And if you follow this journey of sustainability maturity, then, and you keep track of your data, you really are keen to embark on getting your certificates. You know, the B Corp certificate is a great way of showcasing what you're doing, not only from a sustainable way, but also to consumers that more and more appreciate products and services that are produced in a sustainable way. Look after your policies and practices while you're doing it. Look after modern slavery, and make sure to do a voluntary modern slavery policy in order to be able to answer those questions in the supply chain moving forward. Now, we've got a couple of small gifts that we want to hand out before we go into. And I'm sorry, this is what I wanted to do. Before we go into the next step, we'll be sharing these hyperlinks in the chat shortly, or you can use your phone to connect to both the free assessment, and we've developed a little AI bot, Quinn, that is basically a 2-minute quick scan to help you assess on what sustainability level you currently are. So have a play with Quinn if you're not ready to embark on the full sustainability journey. Quinn will tell you where you're at and how you move forward. Now, let's look at the key takeaways of today's webinar on sustainability and future-proofing your business. You can use the horizon scanning and STEEP methodology to continuously assess the world around you and make sure that you know where you are on the journey, and embed what you see into your midterm and long-term strategy. Prepare to be ready and make sure that you're measuring what you're doing, because you can only manage what you measure. Bear in mind that sustainability is not a sprint. It's a marathon journey. It is long-term planning, and that is okay. So don't rush yourself. Take it step by step and make sure to apply the behavioral change that is needed to change the future. New regulations will drive supply chain engagement and the need for sustainability data for all stakeholders. And as Andrew suggested, you can use AI to develop projects and databases that help you get that data maybe more efficiently, especially if you collaborate. Prepare, develop, and plan so that you're ready for what's coming towards you. Sustainability and the circular economy is a big business. It's a $4.5 trillion global opportunity. And if you start now, you can jump on the bandwagon of that opportunity. So basically, it's about getting your ducks lined up, invest in local and regional partnerships, and make sure that you're ready for compliance moving forward. If you have any questions moving forward, we're happy to take them. But before I go to that slide, I'd like to ask if there's someone that still wants to take the floor with a question for Ernest, Andrew, or myself. And I can see that Aaron is highlighting what is being spoken about. Yeah, sure. Come in, Aaron.
So I'll introduce myself. I'm Aaron Factor. I'm a casual with Southern Cross, but I'm also a researcher in sustainability in small, medium-sized enterprises, and I've recently published my book with Routledge on researching SMEs and sustainability and So this is my area. I was wondering, with your tool, your 10-minute self-assessment tool, so the company does the assessment, but then what is the process for implementation? Is it one that they then implement themselves, or do you, through your organization, SDG Align, do you have process to help them implement?
Good question, and very valid. So we're helping you to assess your priorities. It is do it yourself, let's say up to the level of explorer, because we provide in the toolkit small micro learning content in order to educate not only the user, but also staff members or direct stakeholders. And then moving forward, once you start to develop your sustainability action plan, it becomes a little bit more strategic. If you have a team member that is across sustainability and willing to take on the job, then that's great. We know that the majority of small businesses, as you would probably recognize after writing your book, the majority of businesses is either 10 or less in Australia, and usually don't have the spare time or the spare resource to start developing the strategy. So that's where we have a network of partners able to look at the data that you've provided in the toolkit and then help you develop that strategy as you move forward. So it's a combination of do it yourself and strategy development, Aaron.
Yeah, I think from my research, where we've been out to over 300 SMEs, like you literally turn up at their practices, and when you talk about sustainability, they're not thinking about the language of sustainability. They're not thinking of environment as such, and they're definitely not thinking in the smaller businesses about strategy. So that every day their conversations are, just a minute, I've got this to do today, and I've got this, and I've got this customer and this, and this is their little world. But when you actually break it, and they struggle to tell you what the purpose of their business. They can tell you what the products are and who their customers are, but what is the purpose? So if in times of change, it's hard for them to keep their identity, who they are, whereas the products need to change. But as you actually unpack them and research them, you actually find out, once you put away your biases and your stereotypes, you actually find out they're not small businesses not doing anything. Actually, from an organic level, not a traditional strategic way of thinking about top down like in a corporate, but from bottom up, organically, they are already, many companies, even in the last 20 years, have been doing lots of sustainability actions without even realizing, such as sharing a company that's involved with trucks and sharing old tires with someone else on the industrial site. They don't even realize they're doing part of the circular economy. They don't know the language. They don't even know that's part of the language. So it's the language and communication within different types of organizations that is just as important as everything else. Yeah.
And I want to acknowledge that the toolkit actually translates the more complex academic or corporate language often used around sustainability into very pragmatic day-to-day small business language, and focuses us on making the combination between, this is what the regulations say, this is how you talk about it, and make that connection between the two. Because a small business owner understands waste, they understand staff and employees, they understand their local community, they understand buying local, they understand certain technologies, and they often don't, as you say, relate that to either the Sustainable Development Goals, most likely not, to corporate reporting, most likely not, or to modern slavery. What is that even?
No.
So building the capabilities and building that language slowly and aligning with a common language is key, and also one of the key steps that I think is crucial in order to bring small business along the journey, because otherwise they're left behind. And looking at the total volume in the market, 99.8% of the Australian businesses are small, and there's only a very small portion of larger corporates. So we need to embrace small businesses in order to help them along. So thank you for your contribution.
Can I ask you one smaller question?
Yes.
What does it mean that you got B Corp certified? How did you go about getting B Corp certification? Well, because you're not actually a business making something. You're a consulting business.
We're a SaaS, so software as a service, and the logo of B Corp is there as an example. So as a business, SDG Align is a member of the UN Global Compact. So we are a signatory to the UN Global Compact. We are not yet a B Corp, but that's on our target list. But I was putting it out there that if you're running a business, and a beautiful example is Who Gives a Crap toilet paper, for example. A lot of people know that. That's a B Corp. And they're also a social enterprise donating 50% of their revenue to projects in Africa. So I'm putting it out there that if you're really an advocate for change, if you're an advocate for sustainability, you can choose to become a B Corp certified business. And Australia currently has roughly 800 B Corp certified businesses on 2.5 million. So it's a small number, but the leaders are out there, and they're great examples for many businesses to look at. That's why it's there.
Thanks.
Any other questions? I can see the someone having the mic open. Yep. Come on in.
Yeah, hi. Sorry, I joined. There was a bit of a glitch. I joined a bit late. Didn't realize that meeting had already begun. So I was able to. Do you have a recording going off for this? Yeah.
We do have a recording, and we will share the presentation with you.
Yeah, that will be wonderful. Yeah, with as per the registered email. So thank you very much. Yeah, that'll be very helpful.
No worries. We'll do that. So you have a question as well.
So the other question I have is, when I look at the advert for the meeting or for this seminar, so there is, just trying to understand what's the connection between the Southern Cross University research and the other presenters. Is it, or you guys all work together as a part of the research center?
The connection, and I'll leave it to Andrew to elaborate on that. So the connection is SDG Align is a business, and we help small businesses and larger businesses on their sustainability maturity journey. We've recognized that circular economy and circular principles are most of the time in the top 3 of priorities that businesses choose. And we've done hundreds of quick scans and advisory projects. And ReCirculator here in the Northern Rivers is an initiative that helps businesses to basically move to an innovation level research. And that's why we've partnered up for this New South Wales Small Business Month and shared some of the projects with you. But maybe you've got something to add to that, Andrew.
Look, I think probably a lot of it's on the recording, to be honest. But yeah, I guess we come in more at that upper level of innovation. So that's where the partnership is. I think, as you said, Willem, SDG Align helps small businesses to identify actions or awareness, then identify actions and so on. And then if you really want to start to to innovate. That's where Southern Cross University comes in. We can help to try to make connections with existing solutions and innovations, and we also do research ourselves. Yeah, it's all just part of that continuum that Willem had there on the slide.
Yeah.
Yeah, great.
So
Thank you. So
if-
SDG Align then is really a software as service, is it, or is it like more like an ERP system?
Software as a service. You sign
Right.
up through the link provided here. So just take a scan. We'll share that in an email as well. You sign up, you take the 10-minute self-assessment, and you're in.
Right. And so, but you were mentioning about B Corp certified. I'm actually a B Corp consultant.
Yeah.
Just going through that journey. So your software, or rather the company, is a certified B Corp organization.
No, we're not a certified B Corp organization just yet. I'm happy to continue that conversation after the session with you if you're interested. We're on the journey to become a B Corp, and as mentioned earlier, we work with a wide network of sustainability consultants and B Corp partners in order to support businesses on their journey. We're mostly focused on the first steps of the journey, whereas becoming a B Corp sort of is the end stage of that. Looking at the time, I would like to share.
Great.
Sorry, time is always great, and I would like to stick within. So if you're okay and have more questions about partnering up, then feel free to reach out to me after the session. These are our contact details, and we're going to send you a follow-up email with the recording, the presentation, and our contact details. And we would love to ask you to take a screenshot of this final slide. Thank you for attending this New South Wales Small Business Month webinar, and provide the New South Wales government with a bit of feedback using this QR code would be highly appreciated. And I hope you enjoyed our webinar today, and we look forward to following up with you moving forward. So for now, have a great day, and I can see your website. Talk soon. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, everybody.